Namaste. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Saturday Live. This Saturday, we have with us Ruchi Sharma, and we also have Ved, his 13-year-old son. So Ruchi was a former doctor, and she is currently a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. She'll be sharing with us her reasons and method of homeschooling. Hi, Ruchi.
Hi, Shraddha. Thanks so much for doing this. I'm very excited to be here and talk to everybody. This is Ved. Hi.
I was even expecting Avya, but as you said, she's not well.
She's still sleeping. She's not feeling good, so she's in bed.
Just tell us more about yourself first.
Myself. Okay. So I'll start from the beginning. So it won't take too much time. I was born in India. I was born in Delhi. And when I was 4 years old, my parents moved to the US. So since the age of 4 to 18, I grew up, all my schooling was in the US, in New York. So when I turned 18, I came to India to study medical school. So I was in Manipal doing my MBBS, and I met my husband there. He was doing his engineering. So we were together for 4 years. We got married. Then I finished my MBBS and we moved back to the US where he did his further studies. And then when he finished his studies, then I did my master's. And then Ved came. He was born just a few months after I graduated. And then we moved back to India. So it's been a little bit of a ping pong, between India, then US, then India, then US. And when after about 6 years in the US, then my husband and I moved back to India. Ved was just maybe 4 or 5 months old, and we moved to Pune. So we were in Pune for about 11 years. And very early on, actually, when he was in preschool, it didn't feel right. I felt really horrible leaving him. And I was fine with the mother toddler programs we used to do together. We used to have a lot of fun, and I just loved spending time with him. And leaving him and going out for coffee or brunch, it wasn't my thing. And I couldn't really work because my husband's work was so intense. So he was not around a lot. So yeah, so when he started preschool, then I started volunteering at an orphanage, which was a very nice experience because I think I had always wanted to adopt. So then after about a year, when he was turning 4, my daughter came. So she was 1.5 already by that time, and then we brought her home. And then after a couple more years of both of them being in school, I just had enough. It was I was so done with it. It used to take away so much time, actually, the time that, these little kids should have been spending with me or their dad, and they were gone in school for 8 hours. And so, dropping them off was probably the worst part of my day, and picking them up was the best part of my day. And then eventually, I was very lucky to meet homeschoolers and be inspired and realize that I could do it myself. And then we just decided to drop school altogether. He was in grade 3 and my daughter was in grade 1. And we stopped in December 2016 and we were done with it. And now we're homeschooling. So it's been fun. I think it's been an adventure and it's been very freeing, I feel. So I think Ved can speak more about it from his perspective. So that's my journey.
Okay. So let's hear from Ved. How did he like homeschooling?
Homeschooling was a different. Homeschooling was a bit of a different experience to regular school. For starters, a lot we did a lot less homework and we did a lot more bonding activities towards the beginning. I just want to say the gap between homeschooling and normal schooling was pretty hard for me to adjust to in the beginning because I was used to having homework and friends a lot. But now that I was, I guess, homeschooling, I still had friends. Just it wasn't that I met them every day for 8 hours. But after I had adjusted, I think me and my sister both actually felt that gap between homeschooling. But actually, when I got used to it, it was much easier, and I think I enjoyed it much more than school. I noticed that I started doing things that I enjoyed more. I liked, normally when I was in school, I liked cricket a lot. But afterwards, I started developing a real interest in video games and other such things, technology related. Yeah.
Which other video games you like to play?
I was I still play quite a bit, but I love playing Minecraft a lot. It's a really fun game.
Minecraft.
And it was definitely a fun way to help socialize and get together with friends.
I think when school you're surrounded by people who are just randomly chosen, meaning like whoever parents can afford the fees, and you live in a certain area, those are your classmates, and that becomes your social circle. Whereas when you're homeschooling, you have to, as me as a parent, I have to put in more effort to expose them to friends and to a social circle. But the connections they make are based on interest and their own personalities. So I feel like they have a stronger bond now with the few friends that they have. But it's just a much stronger bond because they get to choose. So if they have a play date or they meet somebody and they'll let me know that, oh, I don't want to really play with that kid again. Perfectly fine. So the kids who they do want to play with, they have a very strong connection. It's not forced. With school, you're forced to tolerate people who you wouldn't normally want to associate with or wouldn't want to be friends with for various reasons. And a lot of people ask me that shouldn't they learn to tolerate other people, because how will they ever have a job? When you work in a corporation, you don't get to choose your boss, you don't get to choose your team, your coworkers. So why shouldn't they get used to it now and be in school and be exposed to all different kinds of people, learn how to manage different kinds of people? And I understand that point, but when a child is young, they're so
Exposed to other elements.
yeah, and it can I feel like it can have a very detrimental effect if they're exposed to bullying early on, with self-esteem. And if I'm an adult and I get bullied in an office, I handle it very differently. I'm not going to internalize it. I know that it's their problem, not my problem. I can step away, or change the group that I'm working with. I can take myself out of that situation. But a child really can't. When you put them in school, if they're surrounded by people who are being mean to them or, bullying them, what is the escape? There is no escape. So, and children can start internalizing it and think, I am, or I am ugly, or whatever it is that they're being told by those children, they can start internalizing that. So do you want to say something?
Yeah. So I also want to say that when you get bullied as a child, it might have a long-term effect on you altogether. If you get bullied as a child, you might find yourself mean, thinking that this is okay, because if it wasn't reported to a teacher, or if it was reported to a teacher and they didn't think of it, you might be thinking it's okay if I do this to somebody else.
Yeah, I do find that too. Like whenever there is a bully, it's usually because they're treated badly by someone else and they learn this behavior and they go on to treat someone else like that. And so it can be a learned behavior also. I agree.
I can relate to that because me myself unschooling my child, so she's not really going to school and learning things from other children. So she doesn't know what is hitting, but she does play with neighbors and all that. So they are elders, so they do hit her. So for she comes and hits us. So she doesn't understand whether it is right or wrong. She's just what you say, replicating whatever she is seeing around. So yes, children do learn quickly, and they don't understand whether whatever is happening is right or wrong. I can relate
Exactly.
to what he said.
Yes.
So Ved, what other than gaming do you like doing?
I like to read a lot.
He reads a
Your
lot.
mom, your mom even has a book club for you.
And I think it's more of an addiction. It's becoming an addiction at this point. I will read a lot of books that I like, so much so that I will read late into the night to help me sleep.
Yeah. He's recently gotten into manga. Is that how I pronounce it? Yeah. So he's into the Japanese comic books. Yeah. So he's reading a lot of that now. But he has read really some very interesting books that are from my collection. So he'll go into even my collection of books. Didn't you read that book by Michael Moore?
Yeah.
What was it called? Dude, Where's My Country? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he likes reading, even a lot of nonfiction, like about history and politics. So he has, a very wide spectrum of what he's interested in. And very often I find, especially when they were younger, when I wanted them to read something, I would just leave a book out on the table somewhere where I knew that they would see it. But I would never tell them, oh, pick it up and read it, or let's learn about this. But it would just happen automatically, especially when I didn't say it. They would pick it up and read it and browse themselves. And then maybe that would turn into a trip that we would take, to learn more about a certain place. So that was one other benefit of homeschooling, that we could travel when we wanted. There were no restrictions. And especially with my husband's schedule, he has certain days that he can take off. And the kids had certain days when they were in school. And if it didn't match up, it didn't match up, and we couldn't travel then. So with homeschooling, the kids' schedule was so flexible then. And that has really, brought the family together, especially because, my kids used to sleep at 7 p.m. when they were in school. And my husband comes home from work at 9 p.m. So he would not see them Monday through Friday. He would only see them on Saturdays and Sundays. And when we started homeschooling, then suddenly he was making breakfast for them every morning before he left for the office. And they were bonding and, getting to know each other like they hadn't ever before. So, that was another benefit. And I remember when I was researching homeschooling and I was making a list of pros and cons, one of the pros I had put is that, they can spend more time with their dad, which they really hadn't been until we started homeschooling.
I want to say it's been almost 4 or 5 years since we've started homeschooling, and I am still learning more things about my dad that I didn't know.
Because of a lockdown, and
Because
now
of
he's
lockdown.
working from home, so we spend even more time with him.
Yeah.
Getting to know him.
Yes.
I learned that he could pick up empty oil
And
canisters
what about
as a
Ved?
child.
Sorry?
I was asking about Ved's sister. Does she also like getting into books, sleeping with the books?
So her, I had to manipulate a little bit to read. She was not a reader. And I think what happened was that when she learned how to read, and, Ved always used to be reading. So she became averse to it because she thought reading is Ved's thing and she didn't want to be a reader. So she was very hesitant, which is fine. But I felt that reading is really important. And it's not that I was going to force her to read, but I at least wanted to try my best to make sure that, she tried reading. And then if she didn't like it, she didn't have to read. So we entered a reading contest in a library where the more books you read, you would get prizes. And the final prize was a donut. And that donut was what, like $1?
No, it was a
it was a free voucher for a donut that you could get. So Ved read all the books, he finished all the requirements, and then, he got a free voucher for a donut. And Avya hadn't read. So she hadn't read the book. So we go to the donut store, and my mom is pretty horrified. She's like, just buy her a donut. It's just $1. Just buy her a donut. And I'm like, no, Mom, that's not the point. He earned the prize. She didn't. So he got the donut. She watched him eat the donut. And the next year, she did the competition. She got her donut, and she's been reading ever since. There are no rewards for reading in the house. But, it's really about finding the right books. I think initially she would always just get books with pink covers, even if they were murder books for adults.
If it was a true story.
If it had a pink cover, she's like, that's the book I want. And then, of course, she wouldn't read it. There was nothing interesting in it. It's about murder. So she did not read those books. But finding the right type of books, about, I guess, girl clubs, and those Thea Stilton books really helped. So we found the right books, and now she has a very big book collection that she loves, and loves reading, and she likes learning about people, so she likes reading their biographies. She reads now. She was not always a reader, though. But she's very crafty. She watches all these YouTube videos, and she learns a craft, and she makes it herself. She loves organizing and cleaning her room. She spends a lot of time doing that. And yeah, so she has her own interests. They do play video games together a lot, though. They like Roblox. And then they get their friends involved, and there'll be a gaming session with people in India and, us here. And so they have a nice time playing video games as well.
We have friends from all across India. So some kids are in Delhi, some kids are in Bangalore. We have from everywhere.
Pune. Yeah. So they play with their friends from all around India. So yeah, they play video games too.
I do want to say something for parents. I recommend trying to find a genre that your child might like. I recommend that you start off with basic books or try introducing reading at a young age. But don't force it on them because it's going to make them resent it.
Definitely.
Just like how I don't like eating fruit.
He hates eating fruit. I don't know why.
So what age did your mom try making you read books?
She used to read to me a lot.
I read a lot to them. A lot. And then also, Shraddha, another interesting thing is that I realized one problem that, my daughter wasn't reading. And I realized I don't read much. I don't read. They don't see me reading. And I realized that I was also setting a bad example because, I used to read books to him and I used to read books to her. He started reading on his own. So no one taught him how to read. He just, he figured it out and he started reading. And she wasn't reading. But then I realized that I was being a hypocrite because I wasn't reading books myself. So why am I expecting her to be a reader? So then I started getting into books and attending book clubs in Pune and reading more books because, the change comes from you. So whatever quality you want to see in your child, you have to work on yourself first rather than, be a hypocrite and tell them to do something that you're not even. So definitely, reading myself helped. And then, yeah, she started. He started very young. I would say even before he was in kindergarten, he was reading books. Yeah, before KG3, he used to love reading books. He always had a book with him. Whenever we'd go out somewhere, even if we're going to somebody's house or, lunch or breakfast, he would carry books. And because he was carrying books, she would carry a book, but she wouldn't really read it. But they were always reading it. It was never a, problem.
And Ved said that he used to, instead of people taking their mobiles to sleep, he used to, use the book to sleep. So that's a good thing. I mean, homeschoolers are always worried with the screen time. So
we have.
are you also one of those?
We have a policy. We have a screen policy at home. Do you want to talk about it? Don't get upset though with me, but just you can talk about
it. Which policy is it?
I guess like the screen for the screen policy for all of us. It's not just for you, even I follow those rules. So but we do have rules.
We have a basic rule which follows we can have screen time as long as we finish basic things such as taking a bath, brushing your teeth, or doing work if you have any pending work.
Chores. We do chores.
Well.
So, cleaning, dusting, dishes, whatever work, folding laundry. So they have to do those things. We all do them, but we make sure that all of our chores are done and basic hygiene is done And then any homework? Yeah. So the thing is that, I realized I used to feel really bad setting limits because unschoolers generally don't set limits for their children. And, the child is free to explore and spend as much time on a screen as they want and figure out for themselves what's right and wrong. That didn't work for me because I could see these like horrible effects, they're, sleep deprived, they're cranky, they're, hungry, they're not going to the bathroom because they're playing a video game and they're not taking a break to even, use the restroom. So and I realized that, even I love playing video games. I grew up playing video games. It's fun. Even now on my phone, I have video games and I love playing them. But if I just play video games all day and I don't do anything else, then what are we going to eat? What kind of a home are we going to live in? There are certain things that I have to do to take care of myself, my health, the home, so that the family can function as a unit. So I implemented this rule that, we do our work first and then we play. And so that's the policy that I follow, and it's there for the kids. My husband is very badly behaved, though. He doesn't always follow that policy. Sometimes he wakes up and starts playing a video game as soon as his, eyes are open. So he doesn't follow the rules, but the rest of us are pretty good at following the rules. And they do. And I hope that they understand and don't resent it, but I hope they understand why it's there, because screens are so addictive. They're so much fun. I wish I could just play video games all day and not do anything else, but it wouldn't work, so so we do have rules. I have an app on my phone where I can see everything that they do online. That I do for safety and for my peace of mind, because when they're on the screen, they have access to the world. And yes, the world is an amazing, wonderful place, but there are some negative elements in the world, and it makes me feel better if I can see everything that they're doing. So the app kind of controls all that. And I can see which video games, what websites they're visiting, what they're doing in their Google search. And I know that unschoolers right now must hate hearing all this. And I'm sorry, but this is what I have to do. So that's, yeah. And of course, it has gone through phases where he really doesn't like all that monitoring. And he's turning 13 tomorrow. So happy birthday for that. But you can talk about it if you really don't like it and what the problem is with that. Go ahead.
So I have a question. If there are any childs in are watching this right now, how annoying is it that when you're playing a game and your internet gets turned off, then you go scream at your mom to turn it back on? So it takes an extra few minutes to turn it back on.
Moms
but
are
by
annoying.
Then, all of your progress is gone.
Oh, moms are so annoying.
This app has given me PTSD several times.
Really?
Yes.
That's stressful for you? Oh, sorry. But then turn it off when you're supposed to turn it off. See, that's the problem. I have never seen him turning it off. It's always
like PTSD.
Oh,
I'm not so much aware, sorry.
Post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic.
So for him, it's a very traumatic experience when he's playing a video game and suddenly it's like cut off. Because on my phone, I have an app. And I can say, with come and eat, with come and eat, with come and eat. And if I keep saying it and there's no response, click. And I just press that button on my phone and everything shuts off. And suddenly he's like, hi, Mom, I'm ready to eat.
So I also want to say there have been times when I'm about to tell my friend something serious and boop, the messaging app goes.
I'm sorry. I wish I didn't need it. Honestly, I don't want to have this much of control, but I just don't see, that kind of, I don't know what to call it. I guess control, like self-control, where you can like turn it off and walk away, or like don't start the next game knowing that you only have like 3 minutes left and you're not going to be able to finish the game. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we're still working on. We still discuss it. I try my best to be democratic, but there are some things where I just, it's really hard actually that way. And I don't want to be a strict parent who's like dictating what to do, when to do it. I don't even tell them to eat when they don't want to. Dinner, breakfast, lunch, everything is optional. They don't have to eat if they're not hungry. But with screens, I can see that there's a certain amount of time that they spend, which is wonderful. They're exploring the world and they're learning and they're playing with friends and socializing, which is great. But beyond certain number of hours, I can see the negative effects. I don't know if you can see it. Do you feel any negative effects of playing too many video games? No.
Unless I did it for, I guess for maybe 4 hours at a time.
4 hours. And then you think there are negative effects?
Yes, then there are going to be a few negative effects.
So I
do take breaks though. Yes. There are times where I just get up, wash my face, or do something else.
Take a breath.
Yeah, take a breather. I think that's really important.
That's good.
Because you don't realize it, but video games are kind of like anesthesia. Because you don't realize what's going on.
Oh, so you get numb.
Yeah. I want it's very important when you're playing a video game not to be slouching like I am. Yeah, sitting up straight, keeping a proper composure, and keep your breathing under. If you're playing a multiplayer game, don't get mad, please.
Oh, like rage quitting?
Yeah, please, guys.
Shraddha, have you seen this? Have you seen these videos of kids getting mad and like breaking
It's not
monitors?
only kids.
Adults, yes, adults also. Yeah, I find that.
I have my nephew who plays video games. So my sister always complains about his shoulder pain. He's also he's 16 years old now, but he still loves video games, and yeah, she's also trying to have that balance.
Dave does ballet, which is another thing I think we do only because we're homeschoolers. Because I think if he was in school, ballet would have been difficult. But he does ballet, so in that they do a lot of posture correction, and so that's been nice. Oh, that's another interest they had. I forgot to mention. Both of the kids do ballet.
Since he's going to be 13, so I think he's getting more. He will get self-control in another year, I suppose. He does understand the negative effects of playing beyond 4 hours. So, and as he gets more and more interested in other things, if he plans to give boards, you're doing IGCSE board right now, right? Is he planning for giving his 10th?
Right. So last year when the pandemic happened and all the schools shut, there's a new school in Noida called Prakriti, and they went online. Like all schools, they went online. And I found out through someone that they were accepting homeschoolers. So they joined that last year. And it is IGCSE board, but we don't plan to take the Cambridge boards. I'm not a big fan of boards or board exams. I just find them, I find there's no purpose to it, because anyway, to get into colleges, you need different exams. I'm like, how many exams, do these kids need to take? So I don't have any intention. If they want to take the boards, they're welcome to. Viv doesn't like writing at all. So the Cambridge boards have short answers, long answers also. I don't think he's keen on that. I think he would be more interested in maybe a multiple choice exam. So no, we're not planning to the boards. I mean, the kids are not planning to. If they change their mind, that's fine. But right now they are following Cambridge curriculum last year. Bless you. But no board exam plans. No plans for a board exam.
So, would you like to talk about the child-led living?
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit. I try to be democratic. So in most instances, we do follow through on that. I guess, Shraddha, for me, I have a very good memory. Like, I remember so many things from my childhood. how I felt when certain things happened. Like I remember those emotions. And so I try to be very conscious of that, maybe, my kids are feeling similar or the same way, or maybe they're not. So I try my best to not involve my own ego or insecurities in how they live their lives. I try to give them as much freedom as possible, as long as it doesn't interfere with their health and hygiene. Those are two things that I feel like I need to be around and kind of guide them with health and hygiene. And I think that excessive screen time is a part of health, because I don't think it's healthy to play for 8 hours a day, or, watch YouTube videos for more than, 4 or 5 hours a day. So, yeah, health, as long as it's not related to health and hygiene, I try to give them as much freedom as they want. I ask them, before, even if I post something on social media, I'll ask them first. And if they don't want to eat meals, they don't have to. We try to negotiate everything. There's not a lot that's set in stone. So even with activities or how we plan our day or what classes they take, definitely it's up to them. So if we're trying a new class, I'll let the teacher know that, this is just a trial, but really depends on what my kids say. Like if they don't want to take the class, they're not obligated to. And even now, they've joined some online classes, but there's a certain period of time before they can, when they can withdraw. So I've told both of them, like if you don't want to do it, just let me know. You don't have to do it. Once we commit to a class, though, I expect them to do the work that's required for the class. Because in the beginning, especially, I found that they were signing up for a class and they were, involved during that time. But when the class ended, they were not doing any of the other work that was required. And I don't think that's fair. If you're signing up for a math class and the teacher says this is your homework, I expect that the homework should get done. Or don't sign up for the class. That's also fine. So, as democratically as possible, I try to give them lots of options. I try not to tell them how to live, or even with teeth brushing. As long as I don't know, it's pretty fine. Like if they're, I like when their breath is fresh, because then I can come close. But if they're not brushing and getting away with it, that's fine. I did it all the time. I lied to my mom all the time about brushing my teeth, even when I had it. So I think it's just something that a lot of kids do, and it's fine. But I do tell them, like, just don't let me find out about it. So if you're gonna like eat something in the kitchen, or if you're gonna eat a chocolate or a cookie, I don't want to find out. Clean up after yourself. Get away with it. Don't get caught. That's good. Yeah. But do you want to talk a little bit about child-led living?
Yeah, sure. I guess my mom can be civil at times, but a lot of the time she can be a dictator.
I'm a dictator.
I'm probably not going to be allowed to talk anymore.
No, that's not true. You can talk. So, okay, that this child-led living, cancel that, because obviously I don't do it.
No, you are a Democrat. You are democratic.
Okay.
But you can be quite the dictator.
Give examples then. I need proof. Tell me how I'm a dictator. With screens.
Sleep. No, not with screens.
Okay.
When I can sleep. Certain times when I can eat. If I want to eat a little after, so I'm going to get a little more hungry.
You can eat after everybody else has eaten, but then you have to clean up after yourself. Okay. So, Shraddha, there's kitchen work going on. Me, my mom are doing kitchen work. After everyone is done eating, we'll clean the kitchen. After 1 hour, if he comes and he wants to eat, who's going to clean the kitchen? Then he should clean it, which I'm fine with. I'm absolutely fine with it. If you want to eat when no one else is eating, then you'll clean the kitchen after that. So, we do a lot of chores. He does a lot of chores. There are times, like French and I, when you don't want to eat with the rest of us, you make yourself a sandwich later, but you clean up after yourself, which is fine. It's just being right now in my parents' house, I don't want to add extra work for them. They're also in their, 70s, 60s and 70s. So I'm a little conscious of how we are, and how much work my parents have to do because we're here. So it's absolutely fine. If you don't want to eat, when we're eating, just make sure you clean up after yourself. That's all. Anything else?
No.
Sure. Any other complaints? Say it now. You can say it. Go ahead. I will defend myself.
Why can't I sleep later at night?
You want to sleep later
No,
at night?
no, don't answer that. Just,
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
fine.
leave it at that.
No, you want to sleep later at night. Okay, how late do you want to sleep?
1 a.m. in the morning.
1 a.m. Okay. So, and when everyone else is awake and active, you're gonna sleep and wake up at what time?
12 a.m.
You want 12 a.m. or 12 p.m.?
Oh, 12 p.m.
You want to wake up at noon.
Yeah.
So that's the routine that you want to follow.
No, I'm kidding. I would never want to sleep at that timing. That would be horrible for my eyes.
But what will you do until 1 a.m.? You'll be playing a video game or watching TV? What will you do when everybody else is sleeping?
Watching TV at no volume with subtitles on.
I used to do that a lot too when I was little. I can understand that. But I don't know, babe, if you can get away with it, do it.
Okay.
I just think that, it's better to sleep and wake up when the sun comes up. And, I feel like one day you'll realize that it's better for mental health. If you want to experiment and sleep at 1 a.m. and wake up at noon for a few days, you're more than welcome to then. Does that work?
Yeah, sure.
Anything else?
I can add to this that I have also seen serials at in my teenage late nights.
Anytime. But as long as I got away with it, I didn't get into trouble. My mom didn't know that I was watching until like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night. If you can get away with it, do it.
Yeah, the only problem is my mom's pretty. She naps a lot, which means even if I make the slightest cough, she will be up and be walking around like a Terminator.
Yeah, my husband says I'm like a Doberman. Like, I just wake up immediately. Like, any noise, anyone, even turns in the bed and I'm up. So I'm a light sleeper.
Yeah. Which is a problem because if I press the remote. Hi.
Yes.
So when you had planned to homeschool, did your husband agree with it?
No.
Are you kidding?
No. He hated the idea. He said we were lazy. He said that we don't want to work in life. What will we do in life? We're going to be losers. In all these horrible things that you can imagine. He was very, and I think he felt bad. He's like, I work all day and you three stay home. I think that he was like, it was a nightmare in the beginning. And, but, I don't get bullied very easily because I was bullied throughout school. So now I'm pretty resistant. And so I was very clear and he understood. So his policy is basically like, since I'm the one that's home, I've given up my career, I'm home taking care of the kids, and I do my homework, I do my research. I make sure that, I'm speaking to the right people, getting all the right information, compiling that information. There's a lot of research that goes into my decisions. I don't just suddenly decide one day, oh, no more school. No, it's not like that. There was a lot of thought put into it. So he just decided, he gave up. He said, just do whatever you want. So when he said, do whatever you want, I actually went to school and I canceled their admission. I took the deposit back, put it back in the bank. And then he's like, there's a deposit from the school. What is that? I'm like, you said to do whatever you want. So I quit school. So he was shocked. He didn't know that we had withdrawn from school. And so when, the winter break ended and the school bus is going by, he's like, why is the school bus going by and our children are sitting at home? So that's when he realized that we had actually done what we said we were going to do for 6 months before that. He hated the idea. He was very much against it. And then I think 3 months later, I went to an office event where one of his coworkers said, yeah, Sandeep said that you guys are homeschooling and it's really awesome what you guys are doing. And I was like, really? He didn't tell me. So I don't know, maybe that's like his ego, but he didn't tell me. And now I think, it's been almost 6 years. He loves it. He loves spending time with the kids. And now he sees a very stark difference, between school kids and homeschool kids. Because our entire circle, is homeschool kids. So now he understands and he loves it. He appreciates it. He changed his mind very quickly, and luckily his was the only mind that I needed to change. We don't live in a joint family. We don't have grandparents, or I think it would have been much more difficult with more input. You know, we don't have nosy neighbors. Uh, I've always managed to stay aloof and to myself. Like, I don't really care about what people think of me. I never have. So, you know, I make the decisions that work best for my family without thinking about others. Just my husband, his opinion mattered because he was living in the same house as us. So his decision, I mean, his opinion mattered. And no, he was not for it at all. But now, if you meet him, I think he's perfectly happy, and we feel very blessed. Actually, I mean, I feel very blessed that there's, you know, homeschooling. There's so many problems in, you know, going to school. I see what, you know, my friends have to deal with when they have school kids, and I'm so lucky that I don't have to deal with any of those things.
So anything else you would like to share?
Well, my child-led living was a failure. Methods to homeschool. Oh, so we don't have any curriculum. We don't follow any set curriculum. We never have. In the beginning, when we first started homeschooling, I used to think that, you know, the kids would sit on the dining table and do workbooks and learn, and then we would close the workbooks and then go and play, or, you know, have, like, you know, play dates. It didn't work out that way. I found that kids are learning more outside of the books than they are in those workbooks. So we never followed any curriculum. But the kids, luckily, they love math and science. And I tried really hard to make sure I kept exposing them, you know, to math and science and art and history in any way that I could, whether it was like visiting a museum, or like once we had a nice group of homeschoolers in Pune. I had an awesome gang of homeschoolers, and we set up group classes for all the kids. And so my daughter didn't like robotics at all. He was interested in robotics. She wasn't. So just for the, you know, just because it was a social activity and all the homeschoolers were together doing robotics, she also joined, and she enjoyed it. And, you know, she liked tinkering. She discovered that she liked tinkering. So, you know, all the homeschoolers used to have robotics together, and then a science lab. They used to go to these Kate science lab classes. But, you know, when we were in a group, we had more power. So we could say to, you know, teachers like, oh, instead of us coming 45 minutes over there for your class, why don't you come to this side of town? And they would, you know, the classes would start on our side of town. We would find a space, you know, find a place. We were a nice network of moms, and all of our kids were similar in age, so we could set up all these really great classes for the kids. And after every class, there would be like some fun event. Either we would go to the mall, or, you know, go for ice cream. But I think the kids have happy memories of those days and those activities that we used to do. So we never followed a curriculum, but definitely, you know, whatever the kids were interested in, I pursued those topics. You know, they both like ballet. They did instruments for a while, then they quit, which is fine. You know, just because they start learning piano doesn't mean they're married to it. They don't have to stay. So it was perfectly fine that, you know, I could see that they didn't really like piano. There are days when they don't feel like doing ballet, and I'm not gonna just like quit because they've been doing it for 3 years. So I need them to show me that, you know, it's really causing a problem. They really don't like it. But what happens usually is that they'll complain before ballet, but when they do ballet, I can see that they're so happy and they had so much fun, and they'll tell me, "Oh, that was a fun class," or "We did something new." And then I asked them, I'm like, "Then why are you saying you don't want to do ballet?" They're like, "Oh, I just said it because I didn't feel like changing my clothes." So, you know, there's a difference between when they want to quit and when they just, you know, it's like a temporary phase where they just say it, but they don't mean it. So piano and guitar is something that they had been doing for years, but I could see that they really weren't enjoying it. And I had tried changing the teacher. So that was my first thing. You know, I thought, okay, we will change the teacher. And even then, the kids really weren't enjoying it. There was something about it that just didn't work anymore. And so I was fine with, you know, them quitting that. But luckily, they still like ballet. They have ballet today, actually.
I think we should enforce curriculum on children, actually.
You don't want, okay, so you can tell her.
Yeah, I think forcing curriculum on children isn't right. I think going at your own pace is much more important. A child can be very interested in science and not as interested in English, and that's okay. Just make sure that you learn basic things in English that allow you to use it later on. Or at least you can learn a lot of science, but at least learn a few basic concepts in English. Or maybe not advance English as they're growing older. Make sure maybe they're
Focus more on science.
Maybe they want to do 7th grade science, but they don't want to do 3rd grading. They want to do 3rd. They're not 7th grade English, even though that they are in the 7th grade, and that's okay because they're going to learn at their own pace. Because if they don't hate a subject, and if they don't hate a subject, it's much more better if they're learning a little slower than to rather not like the subject at all and being forced to learn it.
Yeah, I don't ever want them to hate a subject because it was forced on them. So I hear a lot of parents and kids will say, oh, history is bad, or like this subject is horrible, or physics is horrible. I always wanted to make sure that all subjects were fascinating. So I never tried to push beyond a certain level that they couldn't do. Like my daughter took a long time to learn multiplication, which is fine because I remember sitting with her. She said she wanted to learn it. I sat and taught it. And she learned, the multiplication tables. And after a few weeks, she couldn't remember anything. So I just figured, okay, she's not ready for it. So I didn't push. We tried it again the year after. And it took her some time. But I honestly feel that kids will learn what they need to learn when they need to learn it. I don't have to decide that. So if, my son is struggling with something, he'll learn it when he needs to learn it. I don't have to decide that. And that's one of the benefits of homeschooling. You can do 3rd grade English while you're doing 7th grade science, or you can be doing 5th grade math. You can kind of customize it. So, whatever suits the child and whatever they're interested in, you can do that. And no school can do that. Schools will say that they can customize the education, but they won't because they have 40 kids in a class. And, there's no way. They expect all the children to be at the same level. And the child who's left behind, there's a lot of negativity. And I feel bad for those kids who don't come within that, one standard deviation curve. Anyone outside or on the negative side of that curve ends up generally
So you do follow child-led learning.
See, that's what I said. But he said I'm a dictator, so I will reevaluate now. There's a parenting class that I'm actually signing up for because I have to remind myself how to be less of a dictator and more of a democratic leader. I will work on that. Thank you for that feedback.
I would say as homeschoolers, we do give that much freedom to a child to let them choose their subjects or choose their passions. Like you said that they used to go to music, they did stick to music for some time and then they didn't find that much interesting. So we do that, give that much freedom, and that much is required because this is the time where you can explore so many things, and there is so many things to explore in our childhood. So yeah.
Alright, did you want to go? I'll stay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we anything else you would both like to add?
Actually, it was something about screen times.
More screen time?
Yeah, just one
actually
thing I
lucky
wanted
to have first timer.
I wanted to say something really important about
more than 4 hours of screen time.
Yeah, I think as a parent, it's your goal as a parent to make sure that to help your child understand. Some kids can only play for 1 hour. My sister can only play for 1 or 2 hours. Then she gets sick of it.
Yeah, she walks away after 1 hour.
But And she understands that it's going to have a bad effect if she does more than what her normal goal, what her normal limit is. And I think that's very important to parents as well. Recognize what your child's limit is. Because if your child can only do it for a few hours at a time, that's okay. Just make sure that they don't overdo it.
Yeah, like I've seen you playing for like 6-7 hours, and he's fine. So, and it's fine for me also if he's done what he needs to do and his room is clean and he's taking care of himself and he helped with the chores when there were chores. 6 hours, 8 hours, it's not a problem for me. Because I think screens are good. I think there's so much benefit to screen time. I don't see it as, black and white and screens are bad and, not being on screens is good. It's not like that. There's a lot of learning in screens also. So it's
and
fine.
social, and he had a social life also.
He does.
Yeah.
All his friends are online, they're chatting, they're playing a video game together, teamwork, they're working towards a common goal. So it's perfectly fine with me. Just as long as what they need to do gets done first. That's all.
Yeah. Another thing you need to teach your child to do in not to rage quit. But there is one thing you
How
cannot
do you teach that?
There is one you have to try to help your child, not
Deal with anger?
Yeah, help deal with anger. But there is one thing that you cannot say, and it will make the situation more worse than it already would have been. It's just a game. Saying it's just a game automatically makes you look really bad.
Okay, so parents should not say it's just a
Never.
game. Okay.
Because if you say it's just a game, it makes it feel, I think that for me, it makes it feel as if I'm being insulted. All my hard work, all of those hours I put into my game, only to lose it, is just a game. Because at the end of the day, I'm still doing work. I'm still doing something. I'm putting effort into it. I'm researching.
They do research a lot before they play their game. Okay, so I will never say that. I don't think I've said it, but I will never say that.
Yeah. But I have seen other parents saying that. I have seen other people saying that.
Okay.
I have never seen Minecraft, but I've always heard that it's a very difficult game to play. It's not that easy to play.
Very easy.
Not
Actually.
anyone.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, but
for you
anyone
it must
can
be.
actually play it. Even
no, they can play. Yeah, there's two different modes, right? There's creative mode,
survival,
survival,
peaceful, adventure, spectator.
Okay.
Should I go on?
So I won't talk about Minecraft, but Sada, I just downloaded Minecraft on both of their computers and they figured it out. Like I didn't teach them anything. They figured out how to play. Now they create worlds, they create houses, they create bedrooms for each family member. I'm usually in the dungeon, I think.
No, no, please don't mistake me for my sister.
Yeah. Okay, my daughter builds houses where I'm in the dungeon. My room is in the dungeon, right?
Yes.
But yeah, so they figure it out on their own. That's happened with all the screens, iPad or laptops. I've never taught them anything. They've figured it out on their own, and all the kids do. If you just give them, the freedom to explore, they figure it out.
Yeah.
Anything else from Ved?
No, I think in conclusion, you need to be around your child to do homeschooling.
That's a good point.
Yeah. If you're going to sign your child up for a bunch of classes and not try to get closer, I think the main reason you should do homeschooling is to help get closer to your child. There might have been cases where you aren't that close because once your child learns how to be close to you, it can create a much more better bond than you might have expected. Like you could get into less fights, for example, because you know why your child is getting mad at you.
Right, that level of understanding. But yeah, I think he's right that, I've had parents approach me and they ask if they can homeschool. And my first question is, do you like your kids? Because if you want to homeschool, you have to really like who they are. And if you don't really want to spend time with your kids, send them to school. That's fine. The first step is you have to really like being around your kids, and you have to kind of spend a lot of time with them, not get sick of them, not want to take a break, because there are no breaks, right? So you can try to work a break into your schedule, but there's a lot of involvement, with homeschooling. So I think he's absolutely right. And he brought up a good point that you have to, be more involved, because when your kids are in school, it's kind of outsourced. They go to school and someone else is taking care of everything. But with homeschooling, it's all on you. And so you have to maintain that closeness, even if they're in an online class for an hour. The conversation, the connection has to be there. It has to be strong. So I do agree with that, actually.
Yeah, actually, another thing I like to point out is don't I don't know exactly how to put this, but yeah, when you're teaching your child something, make sure you're very calm with it, and you need to remind yourself that you're not their teacher. I think a common misconception is that when you homeschool, your parents are your teacher. I think that's a bit of a common misconception. You're still the parent. You still have restrictions as parents, such as getting mad at a child, because your teacher can get mad at a child. It's okay. It's not like they live with them. It's not like they're forced to live with them for the next until they're 18 years old. They still are. You're still a parent at the very important to remember before you start to teach your children and teach them something. You need to remember that you are a parent, still a parent.
So that unconditional love should be
You
there.
still need to have unconditional love. With a teacher, I guess you could have like conditional love, unconditional care.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
I never tried to teach my kids myself because I didn't want to ruin the relationship.
You did a few times.
Oh, it was not. Yeah, it didn't work.
But now she has started to teach me, and it has been much better. So I would definitely say that being a parent rather than a teacher is what matters.
That's good.
I can see Sharmila commenting, backing me up for the Minecraft, that it is not such an easy game to play.
Oh, really? Never
Yeah.
tried. To try then.
I actually also one thing I'd like to add:
Yes.
video games with your child.
Okay, play video games with your child. So if your child is interested in video games, play video games with them, right?
Yeah, it gives you more time to bond as well.
We play Among Us together.
We used to
play Among Us. Now Heyday, we do farming together. We went through a phase where we played Clash of Clans together.
Yeah.
That was really fun. All three of us playing a video game. And then my husband walks in from a work break and he's like, this is homeschooling? And we're all playing video games together.
Yeah. One of the highlights of my pandemic has been killing my mother in a game.
They love killing me.
If I actually have to, like,
no, and in Among Us, they'll pretend like they're saving me. They're like, "Mom, follow me. We'll go here. We'll go here." So I follow them, and then they murder me and run away. They love that, and which is fine. So I think we're coming up on the time limit.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. It was really nice talking to you. I don't know of any comments. I haven't seen anything or how many people are watching, but I hope everyone enjoyed the talk. And, Deved, thank you so much for being here and waking up and coming.
Actually, for the very first time, we have the actual homeschooler's perspective. Like Ved was the first homeschooler that we had on our platform, sharing his views, sharing, his point of view, how homeschooling moms should be. There are many points that you shared. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for Ruchi for getting him here.
My pleasure. Anything to help the community.
And, I wish if Adya could also have joined, but okay, we'll have her some other time.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
So, okay.
Okay, thanks so much, Shraddha.
You had a nice time. Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.